Welcome to Intense Review of How to Fix Your Mortgage Database. Today, we're going to be discussing again how important your database is. We have multiple coaching sessions about your database because we truly believe that making the mortgage industry sort of aware of how important your database is going to be in the next 3 to 5 years is really probably the most important piece that we coach people on. Um, a- an adherence to database organization and understanding how to market to that database is really something that's been embraced in the last few years. But as we move forward, it's going to become just so tremendously important. A little bit about what we're going to go over today. Why do you need to fix your database? Where is your database currently located? Ways to segment your audience, personalizing your marketing, a little bit more about contact records, although we are going to do a super deep dive into that as well. And then how to keep your database clean moving forward. Let's review why you need to fix your database. If I'm asking you, let's say I just come to your office today and I say, "Where's your database?" What is your answer for me? Is it in Excel? Is it non-existent? Is it part of a CRM system that your company uses, but you have no idea how to download it? Do you have it in 6 or 7 different places? Chances are one of those answers is correct. What I want you to take from today is how incredibly vital it is for you to have that database at the ready. Not only because it's important if you choose to change companies or something happens, but because that is literally your next few years of your career. Um, and so make sure that you know where it is. Make sure that you understand how important it is that you have an accurate database, that all of the information you have is actually correct and that you're staying up to date with it. Being able to find opportunities within that database is a lot easier than making new business happen. Excel is not really a database. So many people will say, "Well, I have a list in Excel," and that's great. And it's a great place to keep it like locked and loaded as long as every month you are going to update it and with extraction from Encompass or whatever you're using, and then upload that to the database. If you're keeping it clean and you want to keep it in Excel, I'm fine with that. It's just not the best place to always have your database. You want to think about whatever technology you choose to use as sort of the central nervous system of your business. Think of it like this. Like I said, a lot of people will say, like, well, my company uses a CRM. I know I have stuff in there. That is not database management. You want to have your own system where you can put everything, where you know that if you want to do a push to first time home buyers, that you already have a list of 30 first time home buyers that you know are going to be moving forward in 2021. And that seems like, sort of a lofty goal considering how underwater you've likely been in 2020, trying to catch up with the amount of refis that were thrown at you, also trying to close your purchase business. But at the end of the day, I do want you to start thinking in these terms because this is about to become very, very important to you, um, because the way that we do business is shifting and we have to shift with it. The first thing that you can do to make sure that you are fixing your database and keeping up with it is to sign into some level of technology with it every single day. Whether that is the CRM that's currently being offered by your company, the CRM that you're currently using, something like ours, which is a customer data platform, whatever it is that you are using, you need to use it. Not just have it be sort of this ancillary thing that you sometimes look at. You want to make sure that you are signing in and you're having a good overview of what your database is doing. Then add, subtract, and delete is a very important part, especially if this is your first foray into sort of database scrubbing. You want to make sure that really any information that's older than 3 years ago is probably going to be worthless. And that is this huge sort of, bemoaning I usually get when I will talk to someone about giving me their database, because people love to say like, oh, I've got 12,000 people in my database. Well, how old is that? Oh, it's 20 years old. Well, a 20-year-old database is not a database. We have to have what we're thinking of as a database be, I have the correct information for people. If you want to think about it like this is a perfect example. Every year, if you send or Christmas cards or whatever you send, think about that list. It probably has what, maybe 75 to 200 people on it. Just when you have to send those cards out, think of what a nightmare it is, because at least 20, 30 of those people have moved. You got to follow up, find out their new information, things like that. That's because over the year, you didn't keep your database clean. You knew people were moving, you got change of address cards, but you never changed their information. So by the end of the year, then you have to do a bunch of work. So it's the same thing. It's the same basic concept. Your database for your business is the same as your holiday Christmas card or list. You have to keep it um, up to date. You have to really know what's going on with it. Then you have to add everybody to your database. And this is the one thing I don't really understand when it comes to how mortgage people do their databases. Every single referral source, business associate, people who work in your building, friends, neighbors, everyone should be in your database. You should be marketing to your entire sphere. That should be something you're doing every single month or every quarter, depending on how you're doing it. But not doing it is not the answer. Subtract anyone you don't want to work with, or as I wrote there, want to work with. But subtract anyone who shouldn't be getting your messages. If you had a bad closing with an agent that you just did not like, take that person out of your database. And then delete any bad data. Think about all the things that are probably not going to work out well there. When you send out an email blast and you have, 70 bounce back at you because their email addresses aren't correct, are you ignoring that, or are you going after and finding out the new email addresses for people? Are you deleting the ones that probably aren't going to work with you again? This is really important. Having a clean database to start is really what you want to do. And segment your audiences. You will hear me say almost nothing else but segment your audiences. There has to be a different chapter in the book of mortgage marketing. It cannot be that every single person in your database receives some random thing from your company. And this is so widely done that it's it's not something that you should be ashamed of in any way, because everyone does it. If you're sending out a blast to everyone in your database that's talking about, refis, that's actually kind of an okay thing to send, because everyone who owns a home could actually benefit from a refinance in this current environment. But anything else outside of that is probably not talking to the right audience. First of all, if you send a refi blast and you've got 150 people on there who are still renting, that doesn't work for them either. If you're sending out something about how people can capitalize on this, on low interest rates right now by purchasing their first home, think about how many people that hit wrong. So you really have to think about this. Put all your first time home buyers who are still in the lease in a group. Put all your referral partners in a group. And that way, when you want to send out marketing or you think something's going to be important to them, you have them already grouped and ready to go. Personalized marketing is the future of marketing, period. It's not a maybe. You will see all kinds of trends shift this year. You'll see people who will send you spam emails that have a picture of the person who is sending it to you drinking out of a coffee mug with your picture on it. That's just how it's going to be in the future. Technology is going so quickly toward personalization that I want you to think about it as well. It is the only way that we can move forward is to meet people where they are and show them that we are not tone deaf to their situation. If your company is only sending out a random homebuyer campaign, that is not going to help you. If you have multiple first time homebuyer campaigns to choose from in order to market to someone, that's where it should be. You should have a campaign that fits every single buyer's needs, because that way you're talking to them personally. You're representing in the pictures that they see. You're representing who they are. You have to be thinking about how to personalize marketing if you want to do database marketing well moving forward. Filling out the contact records. So, if you're not familiar with the CRM or CDP sort of world, each and every person has an online profile, much the way that they do on LinkedIn or Facebook, but it's inside your own database. And how like thorough you can be and detailed you can be with those is all dependent on which one you use and how much time you'd like to dedicate to it. But let's think about it like this. Let's say that you have a referral partner who brought you one loan, and this person happens to be a pretty serious realtor in your area. And you're not 100% sure why they don't use you more because you haven't had a conversation with them. But let's say in your profile that you created for them, you have the details of the loan that you closed. Let's say that was back in October, and you have their LinkedIn and their Facebook connected. You have some notes for yourself. Is a huge Alabama fan. His wife's name is Cindy. They have 3 kids. Da da da. Then you click on the Facebook profile, you see what they've been doing, and then you give that person a call and you say, "Hey, John, this is Kelly. I'm Kelly Yale from ABC Mortgage. I was just reviewing my pipeline from last year, and one of the best loans that I closed was the one that we did for the Smiths. And I just wanted to thank you so much for that referral. And I want this year to be closing one per quarter with you. And I know, it's already halfway through the first quarter, but I do want to talk to you about how we can make sure that's happened. I know you're a big Bama fan, so you've probably been riding out the waves of the national championship win, which is amazing. But I just really want to touch base sometime soon. So, anyways, best to Sydney and to your or Sydney or Cindy, that's her name, and your kids. But let's make sure we connect sometime today. It's just a different call. Having all this information for yourself on each individual who's in your database is going to be really important. I know that that seems like a lot of work, and maybe you think it's not going to be a big return, but how you talk to people and what information and data you collect about them helps you create all of these buyer profiles that you really should know and understand as you move forward. And then know your tech 100%. If you don't know how to sign in your CRM, we already have sort of a hurdle right there. If you don't even know the passwords for where you have your database, that's scary as well. So we want to make sure that you have some sort of system that is absolutely in charge of all of this. So make sure that you sign into that campaign. Know what each of these things does. So if you have a CRM run by your mortgage company now, do you know how to sign into it? Do you know what's available to you? Have you been through any of the training? Do you know where to find your database? If in a second you had to quit your job tomorrow, would you know how to export your database? Do you know when you upload your database who owns that data moving forward? How many different pieces of technology have you given your database to? So there's a lot of stuff that you really need to start being cognizant of if you want to protect the database that you're building. And then you want to make sure that you know what the intention of that tech is to do. If you've given your database to someone who does text marketing and you have been having all these people who've been upset about non-compliant texting, and then you put them in another solution, you're going to have problems. Make sure you know where your tech is and what your tech is doing. And then just keep it clean. If you just do it once a week, if you're just taking a quick look at it just to make sure everything is good. We're obviously not in a situation where we're networking currently, but if you are networking currently, make sure you're adding those people's information to your database. Make sure that it's in good condition so you don't run into something where we're having a conversation like we are today and you're not even sure where it is or what it looks like. And that can be overwhelming. And then you don't want to do it and then it gets put by the wayside. And then use it. There's no other way to really say this, but use your database. If it's just sitting there, If you don't know where it is, if you don't know how to use it, there are plenty of us who do. We really and truly do. And there will be a shift, whether we all want to admit it or not. There is going to be a shift in how we do mortgages. There is going to be a shift in the relationships you have with your referral partners. Because now, especially if you have been smart about this for the last 5 years, you don't even have to ask for another referral. That's true. We have plenty of people who we work with every single day who don't even talk to real estate agents because their database is big enough to provide them referral after referral for the rest of their career. And for the love of God, please start protecting that database. Stop giving it to your employer. If you're going to give it to your employer so that you can use their CRM or CDP system, make sure you ask them who owns that data moving forward, because you may be very surprised at what the answer is. Start thinking about the different platforms that you're willing to give your database to. If you have 6 technologies who you've uploaded a database to, how in the world do you actually know whether or not you are driving a person in your database crazy? Because all of those technologies could be reaching out on your behalf to those people. So they could actually be completely annoyed with you as a person by the time you reach out with a random call for a refi. You really need to think about where you are putting your database before you put it somewhere. And I know that was a very serious overview of databases, but the reality is we at Intent every day see person after person after person who comes to us and says, "I don't know where my database is. I don't have any access to it. I just left my previous employer where I've worked for 6 years and I have none of my database." So these are the kinds of conversations that we want you to avoid, because we know right now, believe it or not, I almost can't move the needle on it, but it's going to be the thing you're going to need for the future as mortgages continue to be digitalized and systems are just met with such great technology. Your database is going to provide you with a basic retirement plan. So if you have, like, some of our customers have 10, 15, 20, 70,000 people in their database, that's going to be something that they can live and build a career on for the next decade, 2 decades. And that's where we want you to be. So, if you need any more information on how we can help you create a database, scrub your database, we handle all these things for our customers all the time. You can always reach out to us at intentmarketing.com and just let us know how we can help you. And even if that's just to start today, building a database for you to take into the future, I hope that today is a day that you're taking it very seriously and that you are thinking about how you're going to be changing your behaviors in the years and months, days, years ahead. I'm going to take your questions at this time. If you need to hop off the call, we appreciate you being here with us today. We hope that you will be with us for yet another coaching session that we will be doing in the future. We are going to be doing a lot about data, never fear. So if you have any questions, just type those in at this time. Okay, it appears like we don't have any questions, and so we will let you go. Tomorrow we have another overview of data. So join us then.